Welcome to Getting Our Reward Heads Together, the podcast for reward and HR leaders brought to you by Reward Heads. Each episode we explore the ideas, challenges and innovations shaping how organisations design, deliver and talk about reward. We're a boutique consultancy creating bespoke solutions for our clients, but we'll tell you more about that after the episode. For now, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Getting Our Reward Heads Together. I'm Victoria Milford, CEO of Reward Heads, and today I'm joined by one of our consulting managers, Hannah Armstrong, and we're exploring something that every organisation thinks they have until they realise they actually don't, a reward philosophy.
Yeah, hi everyone, and hi Victoria. This is actually one of my favourite topics because it's one of those hidden foundations, isn't it, that when it's missing it affects everything else in reward, and when it's in place the whole system just becomes clearer, fairer and much more effective.
Yeah, exactly. So a reward philosophy is basically the organisation's principles and approach to pay, incentives, benefits and recognition, and crucially how those things link to culture, values and business goals. Without it, you can end up implementing initiatives with no real direction.
Absolutely. And we've seen that, haven't we, Victoria? The strategies that are being written and new schemes being rolled out, but nobody's actually defined the destination.
Yes. And I love an analogy. This is one of my favourites. So before heading up the M1, you need to know whether you're going to Leeds or Manchester and where you're starting from. And only then can you decide the best route. And that really is what the reward philosophy does. It defines the destination. So your reward strategy becomes the method for getting there. So if I'm going to stretch my analogy, and I do love to do that, whether you should be driving up the M1 at all, or perhaps should have taken the train.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love that analogy. It's a great one. So should we talk purpose? What is it for? What is the purpose of a reward philosophy?
So for me, at its core, it guides decisions on how employees are compensated and recognised. It anchors reward strategies to the mission and values, and it gives employees clarity on what behaviours and performance are valued. So you'll know that I often ask, what if your CEO could talk to every employee every day and reinforce what matters? And actually, a strong reward philosophy achieves that and achieves it consistently.
It does. And I absolutely love that idea because it really highlights just how powerful reward really is. It's communication. It sends signals every day about what the organisation values. So should we get into the benefits? Because we think there's 4 big ones, don't we?
We do. And I think the top one is talent attraction and retention. That for most organisations is quite the challenge. Employers with a really clear reward philosophy can attract and keep better talent. Their story is just clearer. And given the huge cost of turnover and hiring, that one alone is a biggie.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is. And number 2 is then about employee engagement. So when you've got those right people in the organisation, how to keep them engaged and motivated to do great work. And when you have a strong reward philosophy where employees know how they are rewarded, but also why they're rewarded, then motivation improves and so does performance.
Absolutely. And which organisation doesn't want performance? So number 3, I think, would be transparency and fairness. So if you've got a documented philosophy that prevents favouritism, it sets expectations, and we know legislation is tightening in many jurisdictions, and transparency is no longer optional. So it's not about whether the EU Pay Transparency Directive applies to your organisation. It's about how you're going to get across that what you do is fair and transparent.
Yeah, that's a really current one. For number 4, though, for me, is probably one of the most important because that's alignment with business goals. And reward should really drive outcomes, not just activity. So when rewards are linked to organisational objectives, you reinforce the culture and the behaviours that really matter. And this isn't fluffy HR. This is really business performance.
Exactly. It's a really good point. I mean, I think we've seen reward strategies well, it actually is reward strategies. That's the point. Reward strategies without a robust reward philosophy that almost look like they've been written in a cupboard away from the main business strategy, and they're just not linked up. And a really thoughtful reward philosophy, it becomes part of your employer brand. It communicates what you value. It boosts belonging, appreciation, productivity, loyalty, all the really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all of that in mind, the big question really is, surely everybody already has a reward philosophy, right?
Surely, yes, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But the data says otherwise. So Willis Towers Watson did a survey recently, and they found that 62%, almost 2/3 of UK businesses have got no formal reward philosophy below exec level. And exec level, it tends to be driven by things like, governance and the corporate governance code. And that's, even though it's required at the top there. But of the 38% who have actually got one, a third haven't updated it in the last 3 years. And we know that there have been huge organisational and societal changes in that time. And if we think the UK is bad globally, their stats were even starker. 71% have got no reward philosophy at all.
Goodness. And that's astonishing, isn't it? And when we asked Willis Towers Watson, those without a philosophy, whether they were planning to create one, only 1 in 5 were planning to do it this year, and a third said sometimes, but actually over 40% said they had no plans at all. So, potentially the value's just not being seen or understood. And that's really a massive missed opportunity, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, because without an up-to-date and future-focused reward philosophy, everything else, pay structures, bonuses, recognition, performance management, becomes disconnected.
And that's why at Reward Heads, we see a reward philosophy as the essential first step on any reward journey. So any piece of work we do, don't we?
Absolutely. And actually, it's not something that clients will often ask for because they're not necessarily aware that it's missing, in a sense, that they sort of set off on the journey and they know a lot of the steps that need to be taken, but that fundamental, where are you trying to get to and how does this align to what you're trying to do as an organisation, that often can be missing. So absolutely, as you say, if your organisation doesn't have one or it hasn't been revisited in a while, we'd love to support you in creating something that really reflects your goals and your culture and your future direction.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be delighted to help. And you can reach us at rewardsolutions@rewardheads.co.uk.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for listening, and do join us next time as we get our reward heads together again. And don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Getting Our Reward Heads Together, brought to you by Reward Heads. We're a boutique reward consultancy working with organisations across the UK and beyond. Our mission is to help HR and reward leaders design fair, engaging and effective reward frameworks and solutions, from pay and benefits to recognition and governance. Every solution we create is bespoke, built around each client's unique goals and challenges. We also offer coaching, resourcing and trusted forums to keep you connected to the latest reward trends. If we can support your reward journey, we'd love to hear from you.